What if I told you that the millions you desire are not in some distant future, but already yours, not metaphorically, not someday, now? You are not here to beg life for riches. You are here to realize them, to claim them, not chase them, to embody the state of wealth so deeply that the world has no choice but to reflect it back to you. Today, you will learn the most profound principle that reshapes destinies, not through force or effort, but through consciousness. A principle that has been hidden in plain sight, yet governs everything you experience. This is not wishful thinking. This is law. This is structure. This is the science of assumption. And when applied correctly, it unlocks the life you've been yearning for. In this session, we go beyond hope. We go beyond motivation. We enter the dimension of certainty, because the truth is simple. You must live in the end, and the end is abundance. The end is freedom. The end is already yours. The greatest secret of creation is not found in effort, action, or even talent. It is found in assumption. What you assume to be true, consistently and inwardly, molds the very fabric of your external world. This is not philosophy. This is cause and effect. To assume a thing means to accept it as real before your senses confirm it. It is a quiet inner conviction that what you desire has already occurred. While the world teaches you to wait for evidence before belief, the creative mind knows the opposite. Belief produces evidence. Every human being is constantly assuming something about themselves, their worth, their capacity, their future. Most of this happens unconsciously, shaped by past experiences, social conditioning, and emotional patterns. But once you become aware that assumption precedes manifestation, everything changes. You are no longer a victim of circumstance. You become its author. If you assume poverty, struggle, or limitation, even subtler life complies. If you assume success, prosperity, and freedom, life obeys just as faithfully. It is never a question of whether this principle works. It is only a question of what you are assuming right now. The key is feeling. It is not enough to repeat words like, "I am wealthy," if you do not feel the truth of that statement. Words without belief are hollow. But when you wrap a thought in emotion, when you feel its reality, you impress it on your subconscious, and that impression becomes expression. This is not a matter of time. It is a matter of certainty. Time may pass between assumption and its physical reflection, but the seed is planted the moment you accept your desire as already fulfilled. And just as surely as a seed grows into a tree, your assumption grows into your life. Doubt delays. Effort without alignment frustrates. But assumption, pure, relaxed, unwavering assumption, works in silence. It draws people, events, opportunities, and ideas into your field like iron to a magnet. So if you wish to change your life, begin here. What are you assuming about yourself when no one is watching? What do you believe is possible for you? Not with your words, but with your heart. Live from the place where your desire is already yours. Assume the identity of the person who already has what you want. Not in the future, now, this moment. When you learn to assume wealth, joy, peace, or love with sincerity and persistence, the universe cannot help but respond in kind. You don't get what you want. You get what you assume. Imagination is not a child's game. It is not a retreat from reality. It is the origin of reality. Every structure you see, every invention, every piece of wealth or success began as an unseen picture in someone's mind. What we call the real world is nothing more than the crystallization of imagined states that were held with belief. Therefore, to understand and apply imagination consciously is to take hold of the very tool that creates world. Your imagination is not passive. It is not decorative. It is formative. When you imagine something vividly with emotion and repetition, you are creating a blueprint in consciousness. That blueprint, like a seed, will take root in the unseen and produce its kind in the seen. The outer world, with all its complexity, is simply a mirror of what has been first accepted as true within. Most people use imagination destructively without realizing it. They replay scenes of failure, worry about the future, anticipate rejection, or dwell on limitation. These imagined outcomes, when repeated often enough, become internalized beliefs, and eventually they are lived out in experience. The person who constantly envisions lack will see lack. The one who imagines abundance will begin to attract it, not by luck, but by law. The key to effective imagination is to see and feel your desire as already fulfilled. This is not idle daydreaming. It is living from the end in the mind. You must enter the scene of your wish, fulfilled with such clarity and emotional conviction that it feels as though it is happening now. What would you see if you had already achieved your financial goal? What would you hear? How would you feel walking through life with that sense of completion? This mental experience must be so real that it impresses the subconscious mind, which then sets the creative process into motion. The subconscious does not differentiate between what is imagined and what is real. It simply responds to what is impressed upon it with feeling and repetition. The greatest mistake people make is trying to force change in the external world while remaining unchanged within. But imagination allows you to transform your inner state first. When you persist in imagining success, the world bends to meet your vision. New doors open, new people appear, new ideas come to mind. You are guided, nudged, and led toward your outcome, not by chance, but by inner alignment. Therefore, your most powerful work is done in the silence of your mind. The wealth you desire is not found by striving, but by seeing, by imagining yourself already in possession of it, living from that end with quiet confidence. Your imagination, held steady and filled with feeling, becomes the bridge between the invisible and the visible. Living in the end means adopting the state of mind and feeling that you would naturally have if your desire were already fulfilled. It is not about wishing, hoping, or even waiting. It is about stepping fully into the experience of your goal, not as something to reach for, but as something already achieved. This shift in inner position is the turning point where creation truly begins. When you live in the end, you are no longer trying to become rich. You are already rich in consciousness. You are no longer asking for success. You are walking in the certainty of it. This is a fundamental shift from desire to identity. Rather than being someone who wants, you become someone who has. The difference may seem subtle, but it is everything. The mind doesn't create from longing. It creates from alignment. If you continually think from the place of I don't have it yet, you energize lack. You affirm the absence of what you want. But when you think, speak, feel, and act from the reality where your desire is already part of your life, you align with that version of yourself and draw its reflection into your world. Living in the end is not about pretending or forcing. It's not fantasy, it's focus. You are choosing to let your inner world override appearances. You no longer react to what is. You respond from what will be. And by doing so, you cause a shift in vibration that begins to magnetize new conditions, people, and opportunities that match your assumption. To live in the end requires imagination, yes, but it also requires discipline. The world around you will often contradict the state you are cultivating within. You may not yet see the millions, the freedom, or the abundance you are imagining, but your job is not to concern yourself with the when or how. Your only task is to persist in the feeling of the end until it hardens into fact. What would your daily life look like if your dream had already come true? What kind of choices would you make? How would you carry yourself? What thoughts would you entertain, and which ones would you discard? This is the level of awareness you must inhabit, not someday, but now, because the moment you shift into that state, you become it. Everything in your outer experience is a reflection of your inner identity. If you see yourself as someone who already possesses what you desire, and you hold that vision unwaveringly, the outer world has no choice but to mirror that belief. It may not happen overnight, but it will happen by law. Living in the end is the act of claiming your future before it arrives, and when you do it consistently, the future has no choice but to come find you. Your inner conversations shape the structure of your life more than any external event ever could. What you repeatedly say to yourself when no one is listening, those silent dialogues running in the background, are powerful instructions sent directly to your subconscious mind. These instructions are not judged, filtered, or questioned. They are accepted, nurtured, and eventually reflected in the world around you. Every day you are speaking to yourself. Whether you are aware of it or not, an ongoing narrative is unfolding in your mind. For many, that narrative is one of doubt, fear, comparison, or limitation. These subtle inner dialogues, "I'm not ready," "It probably won't work," "This always happens to me," may seem harmless, but they are not. They are creative acts. They shape belief, and belief is the foundation of manifestation. To truly change your reality, you must change the way you speak to yourself. This is more than affirmations or surface-level positivity. This is about shifting your inner identity by choosing words that match the version of you who already has what you want. If your desire is financial freedom, then your inner conversations must sound like someone who lives in abundance, not someone who is still waiting for it to arrive. When you rehearse success mentally, when you speak as if you are already the person who lives your dream life, your subconscious begins to accept this new reality as normal. It adjusts your behavior, filters your perception, and brings opportunities into focus that align with your assumed identity. The mind will always prove you right, so you must ensure that what it is trying to prove is something you want. One of the most effective ways to redirect your inner dialogue is through intentional mental rehearsals. Imagine yourself speaking to a close friend after your desire has manifested. What would you say? How would you express it? Feel the excitement, the pride, the peace. Let that scene become a familiar experience in your mind. The more often you repeat it, the more natural it becomes, and what becomes natural within must eventually show up without. Inner speech is the bridge between assumption and embodiment. You cannot assume wealth and then talk about struggle. You cannot claim abundance while internally affirming scarcity. Your inner world must be unified. Your thoughts, emotions, and self-talk must speak in one voice. That voice must say, "It is done. I am already there." This practice is not about denial. You are not ignoring your current circumstances. You are overriding them. You are choosing to give more weight to your desired reality than to the temporary appearance of what is. Your inner speech becomes the script, and your life becomes the stage on which it plays out. So listen to yourself. Listen closely. And if what you hear does not match where you are going, change the script. Speak from the end, and eventually the end will speak through your life. Circumstances are not causes, they are effects. What you see in your outer world today is nothing more than a delayed reflection of thoughts, feelings, and assumptions you have previously entertained. This is one of the most liberating truths you can embrace, because it means that no matter how fixed or overwhelming your current situation may seem, it does not define you. It is not permanent. It is simply a shadow, not the source. Most people become trapped by what their senses tell them. They look at the balance in their bank account, the lack of opportunity, the debt, the rejection, and believe that these conditions are the final word. But those conditions are only feedback echoes of an old mindset. They are not the truth of who you are or what must continue. The moment you shift your inner state, you begin altering the vibration that generates new outcomes. To detach from circumstances does not mean to ignore them blindly. It means you no longer give them power to determine how you feel or what you believe is possible. You stop reacting emotionally to the temporary and begin responding with the mindset of someone who knows a deeper truth, that reality is fluid, not fixed, and it responds to the energy you hold within. If you are trying to manifest wealth, but every time you look at your financial situation you feel anxious or defeated, then you are reinforcing the very state you want to escape. Your emotional reaction glues you to that reality. But when you begin to say, "This is simply where I used to be, it is not where I am going," and hold fast to the vision of your desire, regardless of what is currently visible, you release the hold of the old and invite in the new. This is where discipline comes in. The disciplined mind does not ignore appearances, but it sees beyond them. It refuses to let what is dictate what will be. You must train yourself to respond to the invisible truth of your assumption, not the visible facts of the moment. This requires faith, not blind faith in luck or chance, but faith in the process, in the principle, in the law that governs creation. You must treat every unwanted circumstance as something malleable, like clay in your hands. Do not resist it with fear. Do not affirm it with worry. Acknowledge it, but then immediately return to the feeling of your desire fulfilled. Act as if it is already handled. Let your dominant vibration come from the end you are living in mentally, not from the scene in front of you. As you persist in this state, circumstances begin to shift. People change. Opportunities arise. What once seemed immovable begins to dissolve, not because you fought it, but because you transcended it. And what you no longer emotionally feed will lose its power. This is the art of detachment, not indifference, but mastery, not avoidance, but elevation. The power of assumption lies not in a single moment of clarity, but in persistence. It is easy to imagine your desire once. It is simple to feel inspired for a moment. But transformation occurs through repetition, through the steady, unwavering embodiment of the state you choose, regardless of what your current world shows. This is where most people falter. They assume once, then look around for evidence, and when none appears, they return to doubt. But real creation demands persistence beyond appearances. To persist means to hold the end result in consciousness again and again until it becomes your default state. It means to rehearse your success mentally, to feel the reality of it emotionally, and to return to that feeling every time fear, doubt, or contradiction arises. You are not waiting for the world to catch up. You are training your inner world to lead. The external will follow in time, but the inner state must be stabilized first. Persistence is not force. It is not about straining or trying to make something happen. Rather, it is a calm, disciplined refusal to accept anything less than the fulfillment of your desire. It is choosing, moment by moment, to return to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, even when the world tempts you to believe otherwise. This quiet consistency rewires your subconscious and establishes a new identity, which is the true cause of lasting change. Every great shift in life is preceded by a period of invisibility, a time when nothing seems to be happening on the surface, yet everything is being rearranged beneath it. This is the testing ground of your assumption. Will you persist in the unseen, or will you give in to the visible? Most give up too soon. They look for signs too early. But those who persist with calm certainty, Those who continue to dwell in the state of fulfillment, even in silence, are those who succeed. You must become comfortable with the gap between assumption and manifestation, not because the gap is fixed, but because your reaction to it determines how long it lasts. The more you dwell in frustration, the longer you stretch the delay. The more you rest in confidence, the sooner the reflection comes. Reality bends to the dominant state, not the occasional hope. Let your imagined end become your emotional home. Visit it daily, speak from it, think from it, feel from it. Do this not as a chore, but as a natural expression of who you are becoming. Every time you persist in that state, even for a few minutes, you are strengthening the bridge between the invisible and the visible. And one day, without warning, what you once held only in consciousness will stand before you in form. That is the reward of persistence, not just in action, but in being. It is the quiet, daily choice to live as if you already are who you desire to be. And when you do that long enough, the world has no choice but to catch up. You do not need to chase wealth. You do not need to beg for success. These things are not outside of you. They are waiting for your recognition. They are waiting for you to claim them, not with words alone, but with the silent confidence that says, I already am. The world will echo your inner state. If you persist in the belief that you are abundant, worthy, and complete, the world will shape itself around that belief. If you learn to live in the end, to dwell in the emotional reality of your desire already fulfilled, then everything you once hoped for will move toward you, not as a miracle, but as a natural law. Let your imagination be your guide. Let your inner conversations support your becoming. Let your assumptions be elevated and unwavering. And above all, do not allow present circumstances to distract you from the truth that you are creating every outcome from within. Your millions are not in the distance. They are here now. They are already yours. Walk forward, not as the person who is waiting, but as the one who has already received. Because when you live in the end will live through you. And that is where your power begins.